Here are some things I wish I'd known 10 years ago. Back in 2016, when my dad was dying from ALS. At the time I was working as a doctor, I understood medicine, I understood neurology, and yet there were pieces missing, big pieces. These only became obvious much later, and this is why I do what I do today, and why I'm so passionate about gut health and mitochondrial health. Since then, I've spent the last decade studying, teaching, and helping thousands of people and practitioners better understand the connection between the gut, mitochondria, inflammation, and chronic disease. I've had the privilege of teaching these concepts around the world, but some of the most important lessons I've learned came from watching my own father battle ALS. Because if I had understood this sooner, I would have asked very different questions at the time. ALS is usually described as a motor neuron disease, and yes, motor neurons die. That part is true. But focusing only on neurons is like staring at the smoke and ignoring the fire. Motor neurons are some of the most energy-hungry cells in the body, a bit like our brain and also our gut. They burn through fuel just to stay alive. So the first real question should be this: what happens when energy production starts to fail? This is where mitochondria come in. Mitochondria are your cellular power plants. They make ATP, but they do so much more than that. They also make our biological water. They manage oxidative stress. They keep cells resilient under pressure. In ALS, mitochondrial dysfunction shows up early, not late. Energy production drops, oxidative stress rises, redox balance is lost. Once neurons lose their energy buffer, they become fragile. But here's the next question no one was asking back then, and I don't know that many people are asking it now. What controls mitochondrial health upstream? The answer is not just genes, it's also the gut. Your gut is not just about digestion, it's a metabolic control center. The microbes living there help regulate energy availability, inflammation, immune balance, vitamin and cofactor production, and even how drugs work. And in ALS models, the gut goes wrong before the nervous system does. In ALS mouse models, researchers see gut problems before symptoms appear. The gut lining becomes leaky, tight junctions break down, beneficial bacteria disappear, butyrate production drops, all before weakness ever starts. A leaky gut means bacterial products spill into circulation, and those signals hit the immune system. They hit the brain support cells, they increase inflammation, and inflammation massively increases mitochondrial stress. Now here's one of the most fascinating discoveries. Some gut bacteria produce a compound called nicotinamide. Nicotinamide's a precursor for NAD and NADP. These are absolutely essential for mitochondrial energy production, antioxidant defense, cell repair, and stress resilience. In ALS, those bacteria are reduced. Blood and spinal fluid levels of nicotinamide are lower. Mitochondrial genes involved in energy and redox balance are downregulated. When researchers restored either the bacteria or nicotinamide itself, disease outcomes improved in mice. That's not wellness talk, that's biochemistry, a direct gut to mitochondria to neuron connection. And then there's the immune system. ALS is also an inflammatory disease. Microglia and astrocytes become overactive. Those are both types of cells in your brain. Pro-inflammatory cytokines rise and protective immune signals fall. The gut microbiome plays a huge role here. Short-chain fatty acids like butyrate help to calm inflammation. They support regulatory T cells and they protect the gut barrier. When those signals drop, inflammation rises, mitochondria struggle, and neurons ultimately pay the price. It becomes a vicious loop. Antibiotics add another layer. Large population studies show repeated antibiotic use is linked with higher ALS risk. In ALS mouse models, antibiotics worsen disease severity and accelerate progression. Why? Because antibiotics flatten microbial diversity in the gut, and diversity equals resilience. Even drugs aren't neutral. Riluzole, the main ALS medication, is metabolized by gut bacteria. That means two people on the same dose may be getting very different biological effects. No one was talking about that 10 years ago. So you might ask, why does this matter? It matters because if you wait until neurons are dying, you are late. The gut changes earlier, mitochondria fail earlier, and inflammation rises earlier. These are upstream systems. This doesn't mean ALS is just a gut problem or just a mitochondrial problem. It's much more complex than that. But both of these are big factors that matter. And it means these systems shape disease speed, severity, and quality of life. This is why I care so deeply about this work. Watching someone you love die from a disease where medicine says there's nothing more we can do, that changes you. Now, I don't want pity and I don't want sadness. I see this as part of my life's work and path. Understanding the gut, understanding mitochondria, understanding energy. Because even when we can't change everything, we can change where we start looking. And starting upstream matters. Something I always come back to nowadays is this. Healing from anything requires energy, and living in fear is a low vibrational state. In other words, a low energy state. So something not to forget is energy is everything.